We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Dr. Hugh Show, live on Facebook and YouTube. Just want to show you folks the sine wave machine I made from Thingiverse. I wish I was smart enough to make up these files, but all these pieces were printed on the MakerBot here at the shop, and put these pieces together. And this is a sine wave. Isn't that awesome? You always hear about a sine wave and you know they exist, but it's kind of like the wind. You never get to see one. This makes it possible for you to see a sine wave, which if you do the research, you'll learn what a sine wave is, because I don't have the time nor the mental capacity to even want to bother discussing it. So, just one of my little fun toys. So glad you could join us here on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, if you have questions, that's what it's about. Please type in your questions, send them in. We'll answer them live on the air best we can. If we don't have the answer, we'll make it up, I'm sure. But we start every week with Debunk the Junk. And this week, we're doing the cylinders with that, right? Yeah. You know, I've been in the LP industry for over 33 years, and I stumbled onto something the other day that kind of bothered me, and I thought, you know what? Other people need to know about this. Now, it could be out there. You know, a lot of times if you Google it, somebody else has already discovered this. But for me personally, it was kind of, like I said, personal. So we went on a remote to our cabinet outside and did a pre-shooting of this for you. So we're going to go ahead and run that now. This is about 20-pound cylinders. Now, as you know, 20-pound cylinders are supposed to be what's in the tank, 20 pounds of gas, which is 4.7 gallons. So let's see that video. Well, welcome to this week's episode of Debunk the Junk. And to do that, we came outside to our cylinder rack to show you what is actually in the cylinder. Now, we did an episode a few weeks back where we showed you what propane looked like inside of a cylinder, but there's no way of telling what's in these cylinders, is there? They're steel. So how do you know how much gas is in this cylinder? Well, it's by weight. And so they're supposed to be filled by weight, not by volume. That's why there's an overfill protection device built in that has a float inside that stops the flow if it's overfilled. However, we're going to show you how much fuel is in each of these tanks. To get started, let's first note that on this cage, notice it says minimum 15-pound capacity, minimum. Well, these are 20-pound cylinders. They should hold 20 pounds of propane, which is 4.7 gallons. So we're going to find out how much gas is in these. Is there 15 pounds of gas? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I've been in the industry for 33 years and used to fill these all the time for customers. And you always fill by weight, not by volume. And I was going to get a few of these to take to the house, because I have everything at my house running on propane just about. Some things we're about to convert, but I wanted to get the one that was filled the most. Not because I'm cheap, but because I don't want to keep running back and forth to this cabinet getting another cylinder. So let's start with this one. Note TW, that's tare weight, 16.6. So the manufacturer, and this one's Worthington Cylinders, at the factory they decided, or determined, I'm sorry, that this was 16.6 pounds empty. If you'll come over to this far one, which is an older unit, of course, you know the newer ones are going to be lighter, but this has a tare weight which appears to be 18 something. But we'll assume it's 18. I can't read the last number. But you'll notice too, I should have you know that, see this one here? This was manufactured in March of this year, March of 2017. This one, if you look over here, go back. Boy, you're awful slow. If you go over here, oh, that's right, I'm too quick. This one was manufactured January of 13. And it's not a big deal, because after 12 years, they get recertified to make sure they're safe. most of these in this cabinet are 16.6. Some are, this one down here is 17.0. But what we do is we subtract that from the total weight once we put it on the scale. So that's what we're going to do now. If you weigh this, well, let's make it easy. This one says the tare weight is 16.6. With 20 pounds of propane in it, this should weigh 36.6 pounds full. All right? And that's why you don't fill them by volume, because in the summer, they'll fill quicker. In the winter, they'll fill slower by volume. And so you can overfill them in the winter and they get hot and then they blow off, and we can talk about that some other time. So now let's start scaling these and see how much is in each one of these. This is a bathroom scale, which is quite annoying because it's meant for 3 or 4 people, but we're going to show, it's tearing itself, so it's at 0. And then we're going to put the cylinder on it, get it reading, and then it reads 32 pounds. We had a 32 pound reading. We know our tare weight, the empty cylinder weighs 16.6. I did the math on the side of this cage while we were at break there. And if you take 32 minus 16.6, this cylinder has exactly 15.4 pounds of propane in it. And at 4.2 pounds per gallon, that comes out to 15.4 divided by 4.2 equals
3.66.
3.66 instead of 4.7. So we're just over a gallon short of what we think we're buying when we buy a 20-pound cylinder of propane. So that's one cylinder, but you're saying that might be the only cylinder. We'll grab another one and try it again. So, all right, you'll see here, 17 pounds is tare weight, 17.0. This cylinder was manufactured in 2004. So it's a 13-year-old cylinder. Now I will mention, these are the kind of cylinders you want to look for to put on your generator or any engine running on alternative fuel, because you know that this thing has been purged like how many times since 2004. So we don't want a pretty one like this. See this one? This may be brand new, which we realized the date on that one was, what was that date on that one? It was like 2017, yeah. March of 2017 it was manufactured. Here we are in July. So we know this one has probably got air in it. And we wouldn't want to put this on a generator. We'd probably have issues. So let's get this thing on the scale and see what we get for a reading. All right, so remember, tare weight on it was 17.0. We're gonna tear it out, put it down, 31.8. So we see in this one, 31.8 minus 17 gives us 14.8 pounds of propane, which we're short 5.2 pounds of propane. So we're over a gallon short again on this one. So what's the point? These are called 20-pound cylinders because they hold 20 pounds of propane, no matter what the weight of the cylinder is. You can find some old ones built in the 50s. They could be, 22 pounds, but with 20 pounds of propane, it should weigh 44 pounds on the scale when full of propane. So this kind of bothered me when I found out for myself, because I'm running to the rack more than I thought I needed to. I'm running out quicker on my grill, and now we know why. So thank you for coming outside with me, Dr. Hugh, to debunk the junk. Hey! Back. Huh? I'm muted? Hold on a second. Am I good? Yeah. I'm good. All right. All right. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, it's hard to get a ruler in here, but this is a 12-inch ruler. And then you have to believe me when I say there's 3 more inches below this. So internal dimension is 15 inches. We fill it to 80%. So that's about 12 inches of fuel in this cylinder, which puts it right at the cut mark you see here. See the cut mark? So it's 12 inches. So if we're filling it 25% less, that's 12, that's 9 inches, right? Yeah, 3, 6, 9, 12. So 9 inches. So when you're buying a cylinder of propane, let me set it over here and make it easier. So instead of getting a ruler's worth up here, we're getting 9 inches down here. So that's how much propane we're buying. So in reality, these cylinders are oversized for what we're buying. Kind of like a bag of potato chips, which is a whole nother subject. So anyway, just something that annoys me, and I thought I'd share it with you. Because you just got, your grill runs out sooner and everything else. We're talking about exhaust today, or are we going on to something else? Huh? Exhaust. We get questions a lot, how do I alter my exhaust? I want to put it in a shed, I don't want the noise, whatever it may be. Because of liability, we really can't help customers with that issue. Now, I'm sure on the internet there's full of information from people. I would be cautious because it's like people say, boy, if you add this to an engine, you'll get more horsepower, more miles per gallon. I think I talked about that device one time. My dad showed up at the house before he passed away, and he says, oh boy, I got this thing on my car. I put it in the Airstream, it gets me more miles to the gallon. And I said, Pop, those things don't work. And he didn't really want to believe me because, you know, he enjoyed the infomercial in the middle of the night. So anyway, I convinced him before he left to go back home, please, let me take it out. You can have it. If you think you're getting worse mileage, go ahead and put it in when you get home. He got down the road, couldn't have been a mile away. My cell phone went off, and it was him. He says, boy, I can't believe I stopped on the gas. This thing takes off. Well, the point is, equipment is engineered to produce the best it can typically. So when it comes to the exhaust system on engines, they're engineered that way typically for the best performance. So it's going to be very rare that you can modify it and increase performance, but a lot of times people want to do it because they want to remote the exhaust. So again, please don't call us and asking us what to do about that because we won't answer that due to liability. However, I will say that this is a direct result of a failed attempt to remote the exhaust. Actually, this unit, it was found like this with the engine running. And believe it or not, this used to be a radio. See the wires plugged in still? It's kind of cool. Yeah, that's why I kept it. But that's what happened. Now, this building could have caught fire. Fortunately, the homeowner found it before it completely, I don't know what would have happened to it. It was pretty gnarly looking, but please don't modify your exhaust. However, there are ways to handle having a unit be used and reduce sound. One thing about sound when it comes to generators is aim the exhaust towards the least amount of objects, because we know Doppler effect, it's going to bounce back at you. So that's the main thing. But other than that, other than buying a unit that's already quiet, it's a tough thing to try to quiet down. So it usually doesn't work. All right, so customer mail. What do we have for customer mail? Hey, where's my clipboard? I lost my clipboard. It was here somewhere. Anyway, we have that one about natural gas. Where was that one? Are we live? Nice thing about the Snorkel, that's what is amazing about it. As a matter of fact, the Snorkel is the only device that can be used on a variable Venturi carburetor, and I think I mentioned that before. The kind that you use on four-wheelers and scooters, but we don't sell kits for them because of liability. This day and age, liability is such an issue, but you cannot dedicate a variable Venturi carburetor. You cannot put an adapter on it, but you can put a Snorkel on it. Now, to answer the question about power, with the Snorkel, the fuel is going directly to the same spot in the carburetor as the main jet. I showed this before. You have a main jet in the carburetor down inside. See it right there? Now when we dedicate a carburetor to alternative fuel, here I'll make it so you can see it. See the jet down inside there, a little brass thing in the middle? That's drilled out, and the tube comes from underneath here, straight up the center, and replaces that jet. Until the Snorkel came out, that was the way to get the most power out of this carburetor. Well, with the Snorkel tube goes to the same location on the engine, on the carburetor, to deliver fuel at the exact same spot and produces the exact same amount of power. It does not reduce airflow, has no issue with that. We've proven it over and over in our lab on our load banks and so forth. So the answer to that one is easy, and that's a no. Yes?
There is a viewer question.
Okay.
Viewer question, this question is from Herbert.
Hello, Herbert. Hello, Bert.
Herbert states that he had an electrician do the conversion of a new Generac GP 7500, and he had never done one himself before. 2 years later, no problems. But I wonder, when should I change the oil?
All right, well, the thing about oil is an alternative fuel, you'll check the oil and it's like, wow, this stuff looks brand new. And you go 2 years and pull a stick and wow, it looks like I just filled it. Hopefully you have an hour meter on it. If you don't, it's really good to get one, because who of us can, I know we've had it happen here. We think we only have so many hours on something. We'll check the hour meter and it's like, oh, we got triple the time on it that we thought we had. So I know I always take a long time to answer a question simply. So simply stated, you should change the oil according to the manufacturer recommendations. That's the safe answer from U.S. Carburation. However, you can go longer on alternative fuel because you have less byproducts in the fuel, almost virtually no byproducts, and that's why the propane will look clean. But what will happen is, you got to remember, propane, gasoline, diesel fuel, heating oil, kerosene, and oil for lubricating all comes from the same drum of crude oil. So it is a hydrocarbon, just like gasoline. It's just a different molecular structure. So what happens, to get to the point, the light ends of the oil will release or get burned, used up in the combustion chamber and leave heavies behind. So even though it looks good, it's thicker, and so it'll continue to thicken. Secondly is a lot of oil systems are not sealed. And even if they are, the machine is typically subjected to heat and cold. So you can get moisture inside. So all those things being said, the final thing I always say is, you have a machine that size, 7,500, whatever it was. Sean, how many quarts of oil go into like our Yamaha 6300s?
About 1.5 quarts.
A quart and a half of oil. A couple bucks. Hey, it's a lifeblood. So change as often as you can, really. But I wouldn't try going any longer than the manufacturer's recommendation.
Just follow up, Herbert says that he does have an hour meter. He's at 100 hours.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I would change it at 100 hours. That's actually a lot of hours if you figure that thing firing is doing 3,600 RPM. And so every minute, it's turning 3,600 times. You can do the math. It's the lifeblood. You can't go wrong changing the oil. What I do is I give it to a buddy of mine who runs a junker car, and he loves me for it because he just throws it in his. He never changed. Well, his is a naturally changing oil machine. It's like you can change the oil without ever pulling the plug, if you know what I mean. One time he used oil from a restaurant, and he'd pull up and it'd smell like popcorn. He's like, why does your car smell like popcorn? Well, I mixed oil with other oil, and like, okay. But anyway, restaurants are giving them oil. So cars can run on vegetable oil, believe it or not. Don't do it. Not recommending it, but I can give you the phone number of somebody who did. All right. I hope.
Right now he's just got one. He's wanting to hook up a second.
Is he like a 20-pound cylinder? Together?
Yeah.
Oh, you just double the capacity? Absolutely. We have a T-check assembly, allows you to tie 2 tanks together, or you get a changeover. So when one goes empty, it'll switch to the other one. So remember, there's 2 types. There's T-check, which is like propane cylinders playing ping pong. I don't know how that came over the mic. So one cylinder is higher, it pushes the ball this way, so it's feeding the system. And also the other one, hey, I got higher pressure, so it pushes it this way and it starts feeding the system. Then this one's, oh, wait a minute, I'm higher. Because when it's shut off, then the pressure can build back up and it pushes the ball. So it does this all the way down till they're both empty. So with 2 20-pound cylinders, 4.7, that's 9.4 gallons, unless you have one of these new magical cylinders that holds half a tank. So you may be better off putting 2 together. But that was the one, the T-check. The other one is the changeover, and those will have, you'll know them because I have the flag up top and the little arrow you have to physically turn to point one way or the other. And so if it's pointing at this cylinder, that means it's on if the flag's not red. So if it's pointing at that cylinder, no red flag, that cylinder is providing the fuel. When that cylinder runs out, the arrow doesn't turn because you have to do it by hand, but the flag will be up and is pulling off that cylinder. And so you just have to flip the switch and do it the other way. And so yeah, it moves, takes one cylinder all the way down and then the other, but not at the same time. So yeah, absolutely. I even designed a cascade system where it was for doing windmills. They were testing for putting up windmills, and actually designed a 6-cylinder cascade system that 2 cylinders would run and another set would run, another set would run, so you could use 6 cylinders on one generator. All right, we got another one, yes.
Herbert again with a follow-up.
Oh.
Herbert asks, what kind of hardware do I need to switch from natural gas to propane?
Is it one of our systems? I'm curious. Switch from hardware. We have a NPSK, we call it, natural to propane swap kit. So if you've hooked your generator up to your natural gas line, into your meter, or quick disconnect, whatever, we have 2 ways of handling that. If you've purchased a rubber hose, a lot of customers get a 6 or 12-foot hookup hose, and they plug it into their meter. We have an accessory, you can unplug that, and you can actually use the same quick disconnect to plug into a propane cylinder, and it includes a little silver regulator for pressure reduction. And you can just keep on going. You do a slight reduction to the calibrator. You just adjust that, a little bit more open. I'm sorry, close it a little bit for propane. But, well, here you go. So the quick disconnect will go in to this side of the silver regulator, and that'll be in your tank. And so when you're done with it, you just pop it loose, and now plug that back into your propane tank. To your natural gas line. So yeah, you can switch back and forth. So from us, an NPSK 6 or 12, if you need the hose too. If you don't need the hose, what's the product called where you can use the grill cylinder regulator on the natural gas hose? It's something 1.2 or 3.4 because of the size of the hose. I think it's reg-12 or 3.4, something like that. Hey, remember the 800 number or email. The people who answer the phones, they know more than we do about all that stuff. We haven't not. Say again?
Tell the price of that.
So,
$49.
$49. I don't know. What do I know pricing? I know we give this stuff away half the time, but yeah. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I hope that answers the question. We can actually show the parts if you want to. If I knew specifically what he's trying to do, we could show the parts. But yes, we have everything needed to do that.
Okay, question 3.
Oh man, I just saw a mouse. Isn't it cool? Oh. Yeah, go ahead. We're bored. Hi, Gary. Appreciate it. How far? Well, our systems come with an 18-inch. Did I read that right? Engine regulator to the. Okay, 18-inch is what comes with our. Now, you'll read in the instructions, it says don't add any more to it. You know why? Because we don't want to answer your phone calls when people call, it's not working, and they won't tell you that they've added more line. You know, they think that won't hurt it. So we've had an excellent success for 20 years with 18 inches of fuel line. However, our smaller engines, like our 2000s, I don't really know, maybe 3000, like the Honda 3000s, Yamaha 3000, those 27-inch hoses on those. We don't seem to have an issue with that either. But I think that's because of the Snorkel. The adapter kits we had an issue with when it came to the length of the hose. The longest I think I've seen successfully used for mounting the regulator from the engine is like 3 feet. What about you, Sean? What have you, do you remember anything?
7 inches is about
27 inches is all he likes. Yeah. So what normally is the issue with excessive length, if it does function correctly, the issue you will have is what we call snap throttle. If you're under a light load and then you suddenly turn on a larger load, it takes time for the fuel to get there. I mean, that's the law of physics. So the fuel is working its way from the demand regulator to the carburetor. So if you do that and try it, and you have a delay reaction for load, when your loads come up or when they go off, you know, it stumbles on itself. It may stumble coming off a load. Then you know that it doesn't like the length of your hose. But yeah, 18 inches is what we recommend. So far, 27 inches has not been an issue. So, but we're not going to tell you that's the magic number, but it is. All right. Hope that is it.
Dr. Hugh, we've got a screenshot of the NPSK ready if we want to go back
Oh,
and show it.
here's here's the NPSK. Hey, my head's cut off. Who? To the natural gas line, because I can show them almost what it looks like, but anyway. So yeah, that was our NPSK accessory. But that would require, if you have like a 3/4 inch hose going directly into your engine regulator, you'd have to remove that in order to put that brass fitting in there. Is that for us? What? Wow, hot off the press. Look at this, live. Don't you love live? I better read this first just in case. Okay, this is from Robert. It's a Champion 7000. Champion, okay. He has a Snorkel kit, runs great on propane, on natural gas, his load block all the way out, and his holding primer button in, 1 inch line, 12 feet per meter, losing 3,000 watts of natural gas. All right. The Champion, yes, it has the Chonda engine, so I don't know how old this unit is. Any idea? Anybody got any ideas? No? All right. Sometimes these units come on really low compression. But before you get into checking valve lash on this thing, just verify. I had a customer tell me once that he had the 1 inch line, 12 feet for the meter, and that sounds great. Come to find out, when it got to the meter, the customer used a bell increaser, which there is no such thing as a bell increaser. You can only have a bell reducer. So, you know, our charts say you need a 1-inch line and needs to be 12 feet long. If it's 12 feet long, it needs to be 1 inch. Well, then it's tied into a 1/2-inch line to a water heater. I had a large development once. There was several people in the development that all bought the large Generac generators, the portables, and there's like 6, 8 people in this development. Really nice upscale development down in Florida. And they all had the same problem. And it's like, I tried to troubleshoot those units over the phone. I just gave up. It's like, this doesn't make sense. Everything they were telling me was right. They should have been running. And I said, look, I'll tell you what, you fly, I have family down. You fly me down and I will look at all your units and see if I can find a problem. I thought, hey, paid vacation. So I did. Well, guess what happened when I got there? Just like I said, nice unit, 1-inch line, put in by a plumber, followed it around. I said, where's this line go? Goes in the garage. Went in the garage, come up over the garage, got to the other side, and it was teed into a 1/2-inch line to a water heater. So imagine that, 1/2-inch line on water heater, bell increaser to 1 inch, run all that way to the generator. So I would be concerned if you have 1 inch all the way to the meter. If you do, and you're losing 3,000 watts of natural gas, $1 to a donut, the valve lashes out. And so that means you have to adjust the valves to get full power. And that's the thing on propane, it'll handle it. Gasoline will definitely handle it. But natural gas, it really requires excellent combustion, excellent ignition. So you can tighten up the spark gap to 20 thousandths. That can help because that gives you a hotter spark, make it ignite better. But other than pictures to see, we always like to see fuel in, fuel out, as I call it. The fuel coming from the source and the fuel coming into the generator without interruption, because sometimes there's a magical thing in the middle. It's like some customers don't want to show the little magic thing in the middle, but we really need to see what's going on to answer the question. So I hope that answers this one. How is it hooked into the meter? Is it really 1 inch at the meter? Because most meters are 3/4. Not saying that's the issue that it's 3/4, but that can have an effect. Valve lash and spark, because it takes hotter ignition to burn natural gas. But if it's not any of those, it could be the degradation of the machine itself. All right. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap us up for today. No more mail, no more call-ins, no more anything. Glad you could join us. Again, remember to like us on Facebook, and YouTube, or wherever you can like us. We'd like you to like us. Hey, and share that with the cylinders. That's kind of major that people think they're buying this amount of fuel, and I don't know if that's happening all in the whole industry or not. But I'm just concerned as a private citizen that we think we're paying this much for 4.7 gallons of propane, when in reality we're buying less than 4 gallons. So that makes the price actually 25% higher. So again, thanks for watching. We'll be back next Thursday. Oh, we didn't get to show you the shots. We're going to be doing a pressure washer and a walk behind weed eater. The kind that you push. It's a Husqvarna, and we'll show you the video on converting those and mounting the cylinder, and we'll have that for you next week. So you got our 800 number right there. Call us anytime, and we'll see you next week on US Carb Clinic. Have a great day.